What's up? It's Alex here with another episode of the List My Products e-commerce podcast. Today, I'm joined by the man, the myth, the 3x3 picture legend. Um, and I really, I wanted to say this first, before we get into it, too heavily. Um, the the amount of times you played basketball this week, I want my audience to endear themselves with you before I even introduce you. How many times you played so far?
This week I played pickup this morning. It's currently Tuesday. Played pickup this morning. I played league last night. So
Right. That's
twice. Yeah.
John Coyle for you, audience, right? He's going to go after it in every 24-hour session he's got. So I'm excited to have you. John, you excited to be here today?
I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Right on. So John and I were talking a little bit before we got on today about his personal agency he had, his company ran for himself, how he got absorbed into a new company, sold successfully. And so, John, I want to talk to you about your time, how you got into the digital agency space, because when you were getting into it right out of college from Weber State, I see, that's right when it started to take off. That's when Russell
Oh, yeah.
Brunson started to become who he was, and all of this became a space. So, without further ado, please tell me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel very fortunate to I think everyone's like, oh, I was born in such a good time and stuff. I don't mean to sound too guru-y here, but like I'm, as of today, 31 years old, meaning I remember a time when we used to pick up corded phones and like memorize numbers and dial them. But I've always been comfortable with technology my whole life, right? Like everybody, like not everyone older than me is. And yeah, I mean, I left college and it was this time where it was like, things were starting to really boom in terms of like being able to drive traffic online and sell things online. Like people are actually starting to buy things online. So I left college, I went into retail. I actually managed a retail store. I hated that. I hated all the logistics, managing people. Like that was just not my gig. And the only reason I was even qualified to manage it is because I was a college athlete and it was like an athletic store, right? So I ran track in college and it was a running store. So they're like
Yeah,
figured
yeah.
I was somehow that made me qualified to actually manage like a business. It didn't at all, but yeah, no. Hated that, but what I really loved was like the marketing. So I remember at the time, and this will ring true to you. We with our distressed inventory, the stuff we had too much of. I think at one point I sold like 100K on like eBay, Amazon, just our inventory that we'd just listing products, and pretty sure it was actually against my vendor terms to do that. So don't do things that are illegal with your vendors. But at the time, it's like I needed cash flow for that inventory just sitting on our shelves. But like I got addicted to that, right? Like being like, oh, I can like list something and I can optimize it and get more traffic to it. I got addicted to like the stuff that brought customers into stores, running ads and stuff like that. So from there, I went into the agency world. I worked at some agencies. I worked at an SEO agency. So that's kind of how I cut my teeth. And really like then stepped into like really just educating myself on like I would say a whole other degree, right? Like in digital marketing, watching in those days, it was like Rand Fishkin Whiteboard Fridays, for Moz and Russell Brunson's. Basically, I would just register for all his webinars and never buy his stuff. But which not a big fan of, like not. But yeah, I mean, I was just trying to learn. I didn't know, but digital marketer was another big one. Ryan Dice, and just the way they educated was like it brought a lot, to me. And I was working at agencies, so I was getting paid. We got My wife got pregnant with our first child. I was not making enough at the agency I was working at, so moved. And at that point, I had run some Facebook ads because I was working. I was like doing this thing where we were trying to grow this like Groupon for runners, which, in case you're wondering, is a bad business model. Groupon already is a Groupon for runners, so you don't. That's not needed. But we were trying to do this, and I was running Facebook ads to grow it. And I went to this other agency that was like huge. They like really managed a lot of paid media spend, and they didn't have anyone there that could run Facebook ads. So I was, again, like not quite qualified to be the head of paid social, but they hired me for it. And I mean, that's kind of the theme, is like I kind of stepped into a lot of stuff that I wasn't quite ready for, and then just educated myself like crazy. once I got there and just immersed myself in it and got good at it. And then from there, I went and launched my own agency, working with e-commerce brands, info product brands, people who sell, anyone who sells stuff online, right? And at this point, work with a ton of e-commerce. Yeah, you kind of said I got acquired by another agency. We mostly work with direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. Now I would say it's not mostly direct-to-consumer. It's mostly blended between direct-to-consumer, selling on their website, and Amazon, Walmart, a little bit of eBay, Etsy, all that stuff, right? So omni-channel e-commerce brands. And that's kind of where I am now. Long. Yeah.
But the theme I hear through that is, number one, you put yourself in a position to, if you reach out a little bit farther, you're going to grow, right? You were an athlete, and so you were lucky enough to say, I guess it would make sense for me to manage this running store. I ran. I know what people like. That's a knowledge you can leverage, right?
Yeah.
And someone saw that, and even though you might have diminished your skills for inventory management or something, you eventually learned that, right? Selling on eBay. That was a new thinking style, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking the SEO ability and you said you were hired as what for that agency?
So that's probably the only time I've actually gotten a job I was qualified for.
No, the one after that. The one after that.
The SEO agency. I was hired as after the SEO agency, I was hired as the head of paid social.
Head of paid social. How old
yeah. I was like 24, 25.
24, 25.
Not old, but
great time in your life, right?
Yeah.
But you were close enough where you could reach for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had some experience, and it's a lot of it's just like put yourself in the room with the right people and learn,
leveraging what you've got to get where you want to go, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
absolutely. And so, going omni-channel, this might remind me of like Rick Merksey from e-commerce diversification. What are some of the differences you're seeing from just D2C versus omni-channel distribution for e-commerce businesses?
It's a great question. Talk to me in 2015, 2016, 2017, and I'd be like, what do you need omni-channel for? Right? Because you could there are brands that got on some crazy run rates. They sourced some stuff from Alibaba, put it on a Shopify site, ran some Facebook ads, profits, and it was like, you could run like a product image, you didn't need like a good creative. You could run a product image, and that was the game, right? Like, it was just arbitrage. And nowadays, I would say that our brands that are still survive, those brands aren't alive anymore. What's funny? So the founder of our agency is the founder of Fidget. So the founder of our agency is responsible for that little fun craze that all the parents had to deal with. It's a cool little claim to fame, right? He's had some other big wins as well, but that's like probably the most notable. But it was like that. But nowadays it's like, our brands that are really doing well they're one of two things, and a lot of times both. Brands that really have high LTVs, high lifetime values, or brands that have really good omni-channel diversification. Retail support is huge, or marketplace support. So whether it's physical retail, it just provides a cash foundation, right? Or running on Amazon or Walmart, just the places they already have the traffic, because the traffic is expensive and it's hard to convert. It's hard to go find people who don't know about you and pay to get in front of them and like get them to buy your stuff. It used to be not hard because Facebook made it really easy for a small window of time. It was a little golden opportunity and it was fun. But the crazy thing is, a lot of brands over relied on that. They'd be like $10 or $20 million brand that, within a year they're done, because they didn't have any other diversification. They didn't diversify into omni-channel at all. I think at this point in time, it's like one of our main things when we're bringing on a client is that, we want to be, we either want them to be omni-channel or we want them to have really high customer lifetime values so that they have that support revenue to continue to pay to acquire new customers and continue to pay to get their brand out there. Because it's the only way they're really going to grow long-term.
Right on. And I can think back, I mentioned a Rick Merksey interview, not to just keep plugging or something like that, but to think back of what he told me and educated us about, right? A lot of that's based on strategic partnerships. Like knowing who to talk to get your product in at Lowe's, because he focuses a lot of home goods and stuff like that. Lowe's and
Mhm.
at different, I can't remember all the
Yeah,
names.
Wayfair, yeah, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, there you go, 100%. What are some things that the average business owner, let's say, like, why would someone approach you? But what are some struggles that someone who would say, man, I want to get distributed out in Walmart or Target, what are the hurdles they're going to encounter?
Yeah. So, well, are we talking about Walmart, Target,
Yeah,
physical
physical
stores?
stores. Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's a
also,
tough one.
we have the online as well,
Yeah.
which that's a different beast altogether. But let's start
Yep.
physical.
Yeah. So, let me back up just like one step from there and say, like, if you're trying to get initial traction, part of what I love about what you do is that, like, you're really in that space of like the best place for someone to get initial traction right now. Going to marketplaces, let's go to marketplaces first, right? Because they're open. You can go there, you can go to Amazon, you can go to eBay, you can go to Etsy. And it's not that hard to go to Target. You can get into Target.com online, right? And let's start there, right? Like, that's like the best place to get traction. And the reason I say that is because cash matters, right? So if you can get some kind of baseline of cash on the marketplaces, by listing your products, then you can talk, then you can get in the conversations with the people who have connections into Lowe's physical, Target physical, Walmart physical. Because at the end of the day, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to do a lot of legwork yourself, trying to get in touch with those buyers and in front of those buyers. And guess who else wants to get in front of those buyers? Literally everybody.
Everyone else,
Like,
yeah.
everyone ever. Those are like, they're probably like the most sought after people, maybe not in the world, but in the world of like selling physical products, right? They're some of the most sought after people. So you really want to, like, find someone who has a connection to them, and that's going to cost money, right? Like, end of the day, that's probably going to cost money. We don't even do that at our agency. We have referral partners that we refer to, that just have the connections to buyers and merchandisers and stuff like that. The other way to go is to hustle, go smaller, maybe not target Lowe's and Walmart and stuff like that at first, and it's target some regional retailers, get traction that way. And again, it's a cash play, but it's also like, you can start to give them some ideas of like what the turns will be on your product. You can start to figure out your point of purchase displays and stuff like that, in some smaller test environments, so that when you do get picked up by a Walmart or Sam's Club or Target or whatever, you're a little bit more dialed on how to actually sell through in retail, because that first purchase order is important. But if it doesn't sell, it's taking up space, and that's the big thing for them. So, it needs to sell once it does get picked up.
100%. And I want to leave that there because there's a lot of other tidbits like
Yeah.
percentages and points of leverage when you negotiate with them. But one thing you said that's unique and I haven't heard yet is, what does it take and what does it look like to have a brand that has a high lifetime value? What are some components of that? 'Cause that's specifically different than unique distribution or omnichannel.
Yeah. So let me actually, like, I'll break this up a little bit and I'll go, first level is to be very product centric or to be market centric. So this example of product centric would be, my phone, like iPhone. That's actually not a good example. My microphone, right? Or my light that I use, right? That's a very product centric thing. I'm like probably not going to buy a bunch of other stuff from Yeti or from the brand that makes my light. Like, I'm mainly looking to buy that thing from them. And if that's what you are as a brand, you're very product centric. You're like, I really want to solve this problem with this product, and I want it to be really good and really help people. And it can help a lot of different people. That's fine. Omnichannel distribution is the way. It's the only way for you to grow, because you just don't have a product or a brand that really lends itself to high lifetime values, and you can't force it. Which is, just awareness is the important thing there. Or you could be very market centric. So, that would be like a brand that sells baby clothing. This is the highest LTV brand I've ever seen, a brand that sells baby clothing. Think about it. You need a lot of it. And then in like a month, you're going to need a whole lot more because none of that fits anymore.
And then you're never really going to hold a customer more than 3 years anyway. So
yeah, well, no, it depends if you make clothes for toddlers.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
okay.
So yeah, they will. They have really high and fast LTVs, and not all of them. Not every. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to go into baby clothing or pets
Yeah.
or something market centric or topical. right? Just because it has a high LTV. Not all the brands do. The brands that have really, really great products that like when somebody uses them, they're like, I don't really want to use anything else for this anymore. And I'm going to buy this thing. Those are the brands that have really great LTVs. And then the other category would be consumables. So, snack brands, or here's one of our brands right there, Disco Skincare. I don't know if you're familiar with Disco Skincare, but it's like men's skincare stuff. That's an under eye.
Wait, so it must be working.
Yeah, it's cool. That's an under eye thing that you put under your eyes and it like helps the bags go away. It's cool, right? Like, so that has both components where there is omni-channel opportunity on Amazon, on Walmart, maybe even in physical retail. And it has good LTVs because it's good. I'm going to consume it. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to need more of it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like in terms of like high LTV. But I think the biggest thing is awareness. You actually can grow without being a brand that lends itself to high LTV. You just need to be aware that you're not going to live and die on one channel, of distribution.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. As definitely, this might not be germane to, what you guys do specifically, but just as an idea that just popped in my head, like, these companies like a Target, for example, historically, collect a lot of data on customers. Have a lot of deep customer knowledge. Do they let people leverage? Do they have some sort of, is there a way to leverage that information? Because understanding like that lifetime value of a baby, and there's a famous story about the mother who didn't know she was pregnant and Target a coupon and all that.
Target knew, yeah.
Target knew. That's one of the books I read back in college. It's a hell of a book. But yeah.
So like most things, and you're familiar with this, obviously, they see it as their customer, and they're not wrong, right? Like they paid for the traffic, they paid to get the customer there. They're going to pay you for your product, and you're going to make a margin on that, and so are they. But that's the retail business model, right? Is like we are just, they're kind of like middlemen essentially between someone who has product, right, and develops product or whatever, and people who want it, and their main job is to have traffic and customer service, right? So think about retail as like the scaled out, like real business version of drop shipping, because that was what drop shippers' job was too, right? Traffic and customer service. That's how it like actually works in real life, right? And Groupon does this online. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to see it as their customer. Our most advanced, like omni-channel brands have had really strong feedback loops with them to at least get data on like how much has sold, how many units, how much revenue has sold this week, so that they could tie it back, to their advertising efforts. If we doubled our advertising efforts, then our, combination of our online and in-store sales all doubled, then we kind of know like, hey, this is working on an omni-channel basis. But that's, beyond that, I don't know that they are going to share a lot of customer data. I have heard of some people with like Amazon having like cards in their packaging or something like that is designed to get somebody to come to the website. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the extent of it. You're not going to be able to get that customer data from them, as far as I know.
Yeah. And I was just thinking like, and so not only in like that sense, I know it's not be germane to your business you operate, but
you're good. Yeah.
I was thinking, I've seen things where, Amazon, like you mentioned, Amazon is pulling a lot of things in-house, right? Let's talk about risks to other businesses, because, for example, we've seen the skyrocketing costs in Facebook advertising, as well as the different changes in iOS protocol that really affected a lot of business owners who were only on Facebook, right? What are other risks that you're seeing as someone on the ground every day that a business owner, should be aware of right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I think a lot of what, and given like I'm a marketer, right? Like, so think of me as like the equivalent of like a salesperson, but like for an e-commerce brand, right? Like, so every perspective I am going to have is from the perspective of a salesperson or from a marketer. And so I'll talk about risks there. And it's not all that different from that, Facebook risk is that any one either distribution channel or traffic channel is a dependency. So now you have to weigh that out, because some of them will be really high revenue, really high return. Like, if you can start selling $1 million a month on Amazon, are you going to not do that? Because then you're like, well, then I'm too dependent on Amazon,
No.
you're probably not going to not do it.
Yes.
You're going to do it, and you're just going to know that you're at risk. So I think that a lot of it is just knowing, like just being aware and honest with yourself, and not always thinking this will just last forever, right? Because that's what a lot of these brands that I said, like, they got on $20 million run rates and then they're out of business because they did that on Facebook and they just thought it was going to last forever. So I think that's a big part of it. And then, the other part is diversifying where you can, and weighing out the like benefit of diversification and possibly taking a lower return, right? So if retail and marketplaces are your, that's your bread and butter, and you do all of your revenue there, well, how many different marketplaces and how many different retailers? Because that helps, if you're diversified. But let's say it's like all Amazon, like that situation a second ago, where you're doing $1 million a month on Amazon. It probably is wise to just like start investing some of that money into driving direct to consumer sales on your website, or I don't know, go to another marketplace, like, but drive direct to consumer sales on your website. And now you might be like, but it's not as profitable. Like, I don't, it's not as well, okay, but it's going to keep the lights on if all of a sudden your rankings on Amazon drop to page 2 overnight, And yeah, so I think that's a big thing, is just understanding where your risks are and diversifying against them, but also not being so risk like resistant that you don't take a big opportunity, right? Because the other thing is cash, right? Like if you just make a lot of cash, maybe the opportunity does go away, but like now you're rich. So
yeah. Well, let's talk about, opening up new income streams, like you said, the shoe place. It's just a bunch of inventory you just sold. Otherwise, it'd been a loss, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
You just got to sell that. And so let's, in about 3 sentences or so, could you describe your ideal customer, right? Or your ideal client for your agency? So whoever watches this says, hey, I want you to reach out. This is what he's looking for.
Yeah. So most of ours are, they're past the traction stage. So we're probably $50,000 a month plus, maybe $30,000 a month plus in combined revenue across direct to consumer and marketplaces. That's kind of going to be our ideal customer, for us to be able to step in and throw fuel on that fire. That's probably this 3-sentence version.
I love to hear that. And so where can people reach out and learn more, not only to connect with you, but learn more about your services? Obviously we'll link your website below, but
no, so it's there. It's the, Structured.Agency. You can book a call there. I mean, we work with paid media for your site, your Facebook ads, Google ads, that kind of thing. We have a marketplaces team if you want to improve your Amazon or Walmart. We have an email and SMS team. We got all kinds of stuff. But also, if you just want to talk to me, like I'm down to talk to anybody, from a podcast. I'll give you a calendar link, and we can put it in the description. And that'll just be the direct calendar link for myself. And then if you want to just like, hey, I like what you have to say, but I don't want to talk to you personally, then I have a podcast, and you can follow me on Twitter. So we can put those in
that below as well.
Yeah.
John, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great time. Thank you for having me.
Until next time.